Today, I'm talking about when physical health becomes the spiritual lesson. Spiritual growth without physical care eventually becomes self abandonment and not enlightenment. So, of course, this comes up because of my own personal experiences and what I'm going through and dealing with. And I feel that, yeah, it's really poignant in the winter time, as we're experiencing here in the northern hemisphere. Mother nature has put everybody to rest. All of our plant life, everything outside, it's pretty dormant. um, and I think that sometimes we forget that our lives go dormant as well, and that we need to really focus on that grounding and being rooted and bringing up all of the really good stuff that makes us who we are. A lot of times, spiritual people, intentionally override their bodies. That we push through the fatigue, we ignore our pain, we skip nourishment, dismiss rest. We let all those old values of resting as lazy and not being productive. And we just really ignore our bodies. And then we wonder why our intuition gets really fuzzy or our energy feels blocked. Just had a conversation with another healer last week, as well as a mentor, and sharing our tips and tricks as to what we've been doing to really reconnect. When your intuition feels fuzzy, when your energy is blocked, sometimes it's because your body is screaming. That's the first place your soul speaks out. Your soul really needs, as another friend of mine calls it, the meat suit to carry out the mission. You have to invest in your body and your own health care and really pay attention to that. So, Josh and I were talking last week, and he has found that, fasting really helps him to reconnect. And he's doing longer fasts and things. And I think that, we talk about nutrition and what we put into our body and what we expect our body to do with it. When, garbage in, garbage out. Same thing with AI, same thing with everything you do in life. If you are putting garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. And if you ignore your body, you're pushing it down, it's going into that pressure cooker system. And when it comes up, it's going to rear its head. And looking at different ways that the body will get our attention. I personally have kind of ignored mine enough that, well, we're doing some rounds of physical therapy now to really correct some of the um, habits that I've developed over the years to compensate for the pain. Instead of acknowledging the pain and addressing it, my body creates a workaround and everything. And I know that this doesn't really go along with a lot of things that we talk about, and I encourage with the words that we use and how we talk about our body versus our being, and talking about that your body has a diagnosis, that your body has a label. Keeping that separate, keeping that body mind connection, because when you say, I have whatever ailment, then you deepen that ailment further into your body versus saying that your body has this ailment. But you also have to look at taking care of your body as a separate entity as well, if you will. These physical symptoms aren't failures, they're messages. Feelings and emotions that get shoved down and pushed down, they create energetic blockages. Those energetic blockages create the disease, poor functioning of your body. And so sometimes these messages look like burnout, brain fog, low energy. All of those things they're feedback. They're not flaws, they're feedback. And your spiritual work requires a certain amount of capacity not just intention. So you can't spiritually bypass your physical body, not at this stage of the game. And so you really need to acknowledge those things. I remember I had an injury to my hip and I did everything to, just ignore it, just rise above it, rise above the pain. It'll get better. Do a little bit of rest when you have to, and it'll get better. And then finally, the pain was bad enough that I actually sought out medical care. And when I saw the x rays, I realized that I had every right to feel the pain that I was feeling. And from the time I saw the x-rays and made the decision to do the hip replacement, um, I had more pain in that time because I allowed myself to feel, to sense, and to work through those issues. Hips are often associated with past life stuff. Knees, that's the inability to step forward. Something's holding you back from your future. So looking at some of those things can be helpful. Your body is crying out as to where you need to work. And so looking at some of those things. I really like the work of Louise Hay as far as when it goes to looking at those body systems and where these things can be in us and what we're doing to take care of our body. Because if the vessel is cracked, that light that you have, your spirituality, your being, all the wonderful things, it leaks out and it doesn't allow you to be that full person that you're meant to be. So, we're going to talk about balance. And I know sometimes I talk about harmony over balance, but today is going to be more about balance, not a bypass, but we're looking at balancing this, being able to rest without having guilt, putting away all of those old tapes that run in your head that, you can't have any play until all the work is done. You cannot rest until all the work is done. Sleeping in is being lazy, not always producing and being busy. That's that old value of placing value on you as an individual by what you're producing, not who you're being. And so let's throw in a little theta here. Let's remove those unsupportive feelings of guilt and shame, that we're going to remove whatever gets in the way of you being able to rise up to where you are and to take care of your full spiritual and physical being. So if you'd like those, just say yes out loud. Say yes in the comments. If you're catching it in a replay, the energetic work will still be here for you. So we're going to normalize having rest without guilt and shame that comes with it. Okay? If you'd like those, just say yes. Okay, that may be the theta for the day. Woo, that's deep. That's a big one because we've all been so ingrained in that. The other thing we need to consider to create this balance is that movement that feels supportive, not punishing. So as I personally am going through physical therapy, we're finding that some of the exercises actually are pressing my body too far, and I need to be doing that supportive movement, not necessarily hardcore exercises. So you know, going outside, if you're not going to get off the sofa and go out and run a marathon. That's silly. For some of us, we need to just put our shoes on and walk out on the porch. Maybe step down off the porch. Go for a walk when you're ready for that. But having that intention and acknowledging your body needs that movement that's supportive and it's not punishing. You're not going and running a mile because you had a donut for breakfast. Okay. Um, do things that are in moderation and that feel good. Use nourishment that energizes your body rather than restricting it. So, eating the things that are good and that are healthy for your body rather than telling yourself, I can't have this. This isn't good. I can't. Instead of saying, I can't have a blueberry muffin, say, I can go have a handful of blueberries. I get the opportunity to eat blueberries. You know, kind of doing those changes up, finding some balance, getting rid of that guilt and that shame that goes with it. And then pausing, doing some of that spiritual work that you've been just so headstrong in and you're not making any headway. Sometimes we need to slow that down. When the body is calling us back, we need to, refuel the body and take care of the body before we keep pushing along. The most spiritual thing you can do some days is to drink water, take a nap, and say no. Saying no is a big deal. And don't forget to practice your no's. You know, uh, saying no with power and conviction, and only say yes when it really creates alignment, not when it creates resentment. So think about it. Practice your yeses and your nos and see which feels better at the end of the day, not what makes the other person feel better. Because if you're saying yes with resentment, no one's going to be happy with that outcome either. And as we look at this embodiment of how we treat our body and our soul together and do our spiritual work from a maintained physical body, then we end up with our expansion. The more regulated and supported your body is, the deeper your spiritual connections are going to be, the clearer your intuition goes. And it is so much easier to allow that manifestation to flow, because if you're sidetracked by having pain or exhaustion and not being fully connected, your manifestation can't flow. It just can't, because whatever energy you're projecting is the energy that's coming back to you. So being more grounded into your spiritual leadership, being more grounded, pulling it back in. We talk about the energetic container, really filling that up, blocking any of those energetic leaks or cracks so that you are coming from a really good foundation so that you can do things better. Your body doesn't block your spirituality, but your body will amplify it when you're coming from a container that is full, that feels good. So, if you were to ask that, if your body could speak right now, real honestly, what would it be asking for? You can drop it in the comments, or just sit and meditate the idea. What is it that my body is asking for? And I know we've gone over this before, and we've talked about, that daily checklist, to be in contact with yourself and what it is. What do you need today? Do you need rest? Do you need nourishment? Do you need movement that's purposeful? And where is it that what can you change or alter in your daily routine to really bring yourself to meeting that need? Can you take a rest? And how can you do that in the most productive way? I'm a 20-minute napper. I love 20-minute power naps. They work really well for me, unless I'm truly exhausted. And then I need a 90-minute power nap. So if I go over that 20, then I've got to go to a whole 90-minute. Those are my sleep cycles. Have you identified yours? Have you figured out what it is you can do instead of reaching for that 5-hour energy drink or another cup of coffee? What can you do to really take care of and address your body in what it needs? And that movement and activity and getting fresh air. Do you get up in the morning and watch the sunrise? Do you allow that warmth of the sunshine into your body and to really refuel you from there? Take a few moments, turn off all your devices and sit. And if you need to have a little bit of background noise, have some background noise that is white noise, that is just ambient. Take the words out of it, you know, and stay out of social media. It is, oh, yeah, that'll be a political rant, but just be aware of what it is you're consuming in that social media and don't get caught up in this battle that's going on, creating division in our people. It's just really just kind of crazy. So today's card, as we're coming to the end here, this is the angel of education. There's a picture of her. Um, and she says, I am open to the education that is inspired by my soul. True knowledge comes to us when we tune into the soul. All that we receive world from the external world is second-hand information. Direct knowledge is something we can contact when we realize it's already within ourselves. Education is allowing the soul's latent wisdom to manifest itself, teaching us how to live. Wow, the angel cards really don't lie. Again, when I first pulled this card today, and the angel of education, that's kind of weird. How does this really apply? But it applies exactly to what I've been talking about today. What is your soul telling you need? And that line in there, all that we receive from the external world is secondhand information. I mean, I think that really hits the nail on the head. So I appreciate you all so much for showing up today and supporting us in this Transformation Tuesday. I am Amanda Beth. I am an intuitive healer and wellness coach. You can contact me through amandabethhealing.com. Um, Connect with me if you'd like. We can do a discovery call, just kind of that clarity call of seeing what it is that you are ready for next and what services can best serve you, either through myself or through one of the other amazing coaches that I work with. So if you liked what you saw today, share it with someone else who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check back with us next Tuesday, 11:30 Central Time. Will be live again.